For the moment, Mechanic's job was safe, but the experience would leave scars.
And it became the only poster I ever put in my office from a movie that we made, and he wrote, to Bill, "We survived, Jim." And I thought, well, he's in the same place. 7 months after all the success hasn't brought the joy that you wanted to. It was such a tough process to go through that the battle scars remain, and the joy is something that time will hopefully bring to us all.
Caught in the crossfire between the star, the director, and the irate studio boss is the producer. On location, producers are firefighters, on the alert for blazes erupting everywhere. Kathleen Kennedy has produced most of Steven Spielberg's movies. In 20 years, she's dealt with every kind of emergency. But when a hurricane hit the set of Jurassic Park, destroying the locations and putting hundreds of cast and crew in jeopardy, Kennedy's resilience was tested to the limit.
Not only did it wipe out all of our sets, but it really devastated the island. And it stranded our entire crew in a hotel that when the hurricane passed over, they condemned. So it wasn't a hotel that we could send crew members back into their rooms or anything. We had no communication to anyone off island.
The producers set off to the airport to seek help.
The airport was completely devastated. All the small planes were flipped over, helicopters were on their side, palm trees, mud, dirt, was about a foot high throughout all of the areas where you check in. The tower was lying down on its side.
Kennedy managed to hitch a flight to Honolulu, from where she began to appeal for help. Deliverance arrived in the unlikely shape of a middle-aged man.
You know, first of all, I'm so freaked out about what I've just been through anyway, that I just can't believe that. I thought, oh God, this guy wants to be in a movie, or he knows that, I work with Steven Spielberg or something.
She turned around and looked at me and I said, "Do you remember who I am?" And she said, "Not at first." And I said, "Well, does Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford, bring anything to mind?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Jock?"
It turns out that he was the pilot in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the pilot of the biplane that flies Harrison out at the beginning where the snake comes up. And he goes, no, I was in Raiders. He said, "I'm flying disaster relief planes into the island right now. I could help you get people off island and everything." I just couldn't believe this.
She asked if we could help get the film crew out of Kauai. And I said, "Well, not with this airplane, but we'll take this load over and see what kind of a situation we've got over there."
Over the next 24 hours, Fred Sorensen ferried the entire crew back to Los Angeles and salvaged the production.
So we ended up moving all of the cast and crew off within 48 hours and back to Los Angeles, and it happened to coincide over a weekend, and we literally lost 1 day of shooting, miraculously, through this whole ordeal.
Kennedy's quick thinking saved millions of dollars and kept one of the biggest grossing films ever on track. DreamWorks' Roman epic Gladiator also looked to have weathered the storm. The movie was nearing the end of production. In a viewing theater in Los Angeles, DreamWorks executive Walter Parks was watching footage from the movie.
"I shall be closer to you for the next few days, which will be the last of your miserable lives, than that bitch of a mother that brought you screaming into this world. I did not pay good money for you for your company. I paid it so that I could profit from your death."
We were seeing dailies of Oliver Reed. We were watching this extraordinary performance, and Ollie looked so tan and so great. And we were just talking about the fact that Oliver Reed has come back. This amazing actor suddenly is going to have a rebirth in his career. And that was a Friday. And then Saturday morning, I got the phone call that he had died.
Oliver Reed, the seemingly indestructible rabble-rouser, had collapsed and died, with major scenes still to be filmed.
You first, take in the human loss, and then much too quickly, the producer takes over, and you say, yeah, that's a terrible thing. How much of this have we shot? And how are we going to deal with this?
The movie was now in serious jeopardy. It could mean recasting and reshooting all of Reed's scenes, which would add months to the schedule, millions to the budget, and crucify DreamWorks.
One of the options we looked at, which made Ridley Scott go completely pale, was the idea that we would reshoot. Now, remember, he had shot the war scenes. We had just come from Morocco. We would reshoot every scene that Oliver Reed was in with a new actor, which, might have been a $26, $27 million insurance claim. But forgetting the money, the idea for Ridley of, one, trying to get lightning in a bottle a second time, because it was such a great character that Oliver had created, and he had made a difficult character work, to have you care about a guy who was sending men to their death, but still know how tough the guy was.
The studio called in the cavalry.
On Sunday, the phone rang, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was Walter in LA, and he said, I've just woken up. Oliver Reed died 2 hours ago. Get on a plane back to Malta and create a new ending. We'd only shot scenes in which he continued to be the cynical old baggage, you see. So we didn't have him, so we had to kill him earlier in the story. But we had to redeem him first, because the demands of a character like that are very, very clear. He's the lovable rogue, and at a certain point, the lovable rogue reveals that actually there's good in him.
The writer had to redeem Proximo by piecing together earlier dialogue by the now dead actor.
Open the gate, Proximo!
Nicholson conjured a complex solution, but would it translate to the screen?
Everything is prepared.